4 decades, the great cities of Athens and Sparta stood as pillars of the ancient world. But their bitter rivalry erupted into a brutal war that reshaped Greece forever. What if that war simply never happened? Imagine a world where the golden age of Greece never met its violent end. In our timeline, the Peloponnesian War was a catastrophe. For 27 years, from 431 to 404 BCE, the Greek city-states tore themselves apart. Athens, the shining beacon of democracy, art, and philosophy, was brought to its knees. Sparta, the unmatched military powerhouse, won the war but lost its soul, exhausted and depleted. This devastating conflict left the cradle of Western civilization fractured, vulnerable, and ripe for conquest. But let us step through a doorway into an alternate history. Picture the year 431 BCE. The tensions are high. Incidents in minor cities like Epidamnus and Potidæa threaten to spark a global conflict. In our world, these sparks lit a raging wildfire. But in this alternate timeline, diplomacy prevails. Perhaps Pericles, the brilliant leader of Athens, finds a way to appease the Spartan assembly. Perhaps the Spartan king Archidamus successfully convinces his countrymen that a war with Athens would be a trap with no exit. The peace treaty holds. The war that was meant to happen simply never does. What happens next is a revolution of human progress. Without the crippling expenses of a 27-year war, the Athenian treasury remains overflowing. The silver mines of Laurium and the tribute from the Delian League are not spent on warships, armor, and mercenary soldiers. Instead, they are channeled into architecture, science, and the arts. The golden age of Athens does not fade. It intensifies. We must consider the fate of the great minds. In our timeline, the trauma of defeat made Athens paranoid and intolerant. Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, was sentenced to death by a bitter democratic court. But in a peaceful, confident Athens, Socrates lives. He continues to teach in the public squares, pushing human logic to new heights. His student, Plato, does not grow up disillusioned with democracy. He does not write the Republic as a critique of a broken system. Instead, Plato works to refine a healthy, flourishing democratic state. The ripples of this intellectual explosion would be felt across every discipline. Think of the theatre. Sophocles and Euripides continue to write masterpieces without the dark, cynical shadow of war hanging over their plays. Think of science and medicine. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, and Meton, the astronomer, find unlimited funding for their research. Greece becomes a hotbed of technological innovation. Without the societal collapse, could the Greeks have developed the steam engine? Could they have created advanced computing devices, like a highly evolved Antikythera mechanism, centuries ahead of schedule? It is entirely possible. Meanwhile, what becomes of Sparta? In our history, Sparta won the war but could not handle the responsibilities of empire. Their rigid social structure collapsed under the weight of foreign wealth and declining population. But in a world of peace, Sparta remains a stable, isolationist power. They do not overextend. Without the massive casualties of the war, the Spartan citizen class does not shrink to dangerously low numbers. They remain the ultimate deterrent, a military shield that guarantees the stability of the Peloponnese. Over time, constant contact with a wealthy, vibrant Athens might even soften the rigid Spartan system. We might have seen a unique cultural exchange, a synthesis of Athenian intellect and Spartan discipline. This stable balance of power would completely change the map of the ancient world. In our timeline, the exhausted Greek city-states fell easy prey to Philip of Macedon, and later, his legendary son, Alexander the Great. But a strong, united, and wealthy coalition of Athens and Sparta would have been an insurmountable barrier. Macedon would have remained a rugged northern kingdom, unable to penetrate the south. Without the conquest of Macedon, Alexander the Great never marches east. The Persian Empire remains intact, acting as a massive, stable neighbor to the Greek world. Instead of a violent conquest, We might have seen a golden age of trade and cultural exchange between Greece and Persia. Greek philosophers would debate Persian scholars. Athenian merchants would trade directly with the deep markets of Babylon and Persepolis. The wealth of the East and the intellect of the West would merge, not through sword and fire, but through coin and scroll. And what of Rome? In our history, Rome expanded into a vacuum left by the declining Greek empires. But if the Greek city-states had remained at the height of their power, Rome's expansion eastward would have been halted. They would have met a wall of advanced Athenian warships and impenetrable Spartan phalanxes. The Mediterranean might have been divided into two great spheres of influence, a Roman West and a Greek East, locked in a permanent, prosperous peace. The world we live in today is built on the ruins of ancient Greece. We inherited their democracy, their philosophy, and their science. But we inherited them after they had been shattered by decades of civil war and conquest. If the Peloponnesian War had never happened, the light of ancient Greece would have burned brighter and longer. The Dark Ages might have been avoided entirely. Human progress could have been accelerated by 1,000 years. We might have reached the stars while our ancestors were still discovering the New World. The tragedy of the Peloponnesian War was not just the lives lost in the ruins of Syracuse or the streets of Athens. The true tragedy was the future it stole from us. What do you think? Would a peaceful Greece have conquered the world with ideas, or would they have eventually destroyed themselves anyway? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into alternate history, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the secrets of the past. Until next time, keep questioning the world that was, and imagining the worlds that could have been.